Welcome to Global Rhythms Live, World Music and Dance Digital Concert Series presented by Ensemble Topaz.
Hi everyone! It's with great joy that we welcome you to the 12th edition of Global Rhythms Live World Music and Dance Digital Concert. I am Parmita Kaur, co-artistic director and choreographer of Ensemble Topaz, a Toronto-based integrated music and dance ensemble, and it's my great joy and honor, along with Mike Anklewicz, to present to you this week's edition of Global Rhythms Live. This week, we're delighted to feature some of our wonderful musicians and dancers based in Toronto and performing a number of world music and dance styles. We've also all ourselves had the joy of working with each other and with all of them in our own Ensemble Topaz projects, and they have their own projects as well. Joining me in the studio is Mike Anklewicz, musician, composer, and music director for Ensemble Topaz, as well as several other music projects. And he is also faculty member at the Royal Conservatory of Music here in Toronto. He is also our managing technical director for Global Rhythms Live.
Thank you, Parmita, and thank you to everyone for joining us today. To us, in many ways, this concert keeps alive the art of live music. And in this age of COVID, live music is one of the first things to go. And for all of the artists here, that's such a big part of their lives and livelihoods. So we're trying to give them the opportunity to find a new outlet for that. We also want to share a bit of the artistic journeys of each of these artists to provide some context and to show you, that the art that they make comes from a very long tradition of study and activity in music and dance. So we'd also like to share that, you can help the artists by donating at our GoFundMe site. You can see the link in the corner, and please head there, make a donation, and help out all of the artists performing today. We'd also like to let you know that the captions that you might see on Facebook can be disabled. You just have to go to the settings and disable closed captioning. They're a great function for accessibility, but sometimes they might get in the way of being able to see the full screen. So you can turn that off by disabling captions on your device.
And with that, we move on to our first artist of today. Our first featured performer is Fazelyar. Aris is an Afghan-Canadian multi-instrumentalist and singer. Coming from a family of musical background of Afghan heritage, Aris has both formal and self-taught musical training. His father enrolled him in tabla lessons at the age of 10, and after a few years of formal training under Ustad Dev Chakravorty, Aris further trained himself and taught himself to play instruments such as the harmonium, piano, rubab, tolak, accordion, as well as to sing. For this week's Global Rhythms Digital Concert, Aris will be playing harmonium as well as singing, while being accompanied by his brother Ramiz, who will be playing the tabla. Please enjoy. Okay. So thank you so much. That was amazing, and it was so wonderful to hear you sing this song. And we're so used to hearing you on percussion, so it's very amazing and lovely to hear your singing voice. It's absolutely incredible. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. And could you tell us and our viewers a little bit about this beautiful song you just sang?
Uh, Absolutely, yeah. So, firstly, just want to say hello to you guys. Thank you to the viewers. Hello to the viewers, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. Just a little bit of background about this song. So, this is an Afghan song originally composed and sang by Ustad Nashanas. It is in the language of Pashto and is, I think, from around the 70s. Um, It's, I guess you could say, a love song. It sort of describes the girl and I guess sort of compares her in sort of a metaphorical way to beauties of the world and says how, I guess it's sort of hard to explain this in English, but essentially it just compares her to beauties of the world and sort of, draws that connection between the beauty of the girl and the love and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much. It's an absolutely beautiful song, and it was such a joy to hear your performance of it.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, and we would love to hear a little bit about your journey into music, and yeah, we would love to hear about that. And I know you come from a musical family. All three of you brothers are very musically talented, and your father is also a singer. So we would love to hear a little bit about your journeys into this art form.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you have a little bit of, a little bit, my father was a singer back in his day, back in Afghanistan, and then as well when he first came here and migrated to Canada. And so just naturally, he's passed on that sort of musical, the bit of musical training that he knows to us. And I guess where you could say officially started for us, and by us I mean myself and my brothers, Ramesh and Waris as well, was when we were enrolled in tabla lessons, in professional tabla lessons, to a teacher by the name of Ustad Dev Chakraborty. We had been going to him for a couple of years, and I guess because we were just naturally, I guess when we were young at the time, it wasn't necessarily something we wanted to do, but it was something we were just more pushed into do by our parents. And so, we would kind of go for a couple of years. We learned a bit of the basics here and there, but none of us really excelled at playing the tabla. And after a couple of years, I decided to take it a little bit more seriously, and I trained a little more than I guess the others, and I decided I'm going to pursue this a little more professionally and more formally. And so I did that, and after a couple of years of going to our Ustad, we stopped going, but I just continued to play at home, and I continued to train and learn more just through online sources and other people, and just things that I've heard through songs and just other people playing. I just sort of continued to teach myself, and eventually I got to a point where I was confident in myself, where I could perform publicly. And just along the way, along that journey, I've learned to play a couple other instruments as well. As you see, I have a harmonium in front of myself. There's a couple other instruments, for instance, piano. I can play accordion. I can play dolak. And a couple more, and as well as singing. These are just other things that I've taught myself to do over time and over the years, with no formal training, just sort of self-taught out of my own passion for music. And, from there, all of us sort of took our own journey, all our own paths. For instance, my older brother Waris, he pursued robab, the instrument robab, a little more than all of us, and he for a while was performing and playing at events and places, and some recordings as well. My brother Ramesh, who I guess maybe you could speak about yourself and your journey a little bit.
Yeah, I think everyone's taken their own path with music. For me, like we said, a lot of us took that break from music after our formal lessons. I took a much longer break. But only in the past couple of years, I've kind of reignited that passion. So I'm starting to revisit my lessons with the tabla, as well as on the tula, which is a traditional subcontinental and Afghan flute.
Fabulous. Well, thanks so much. Those are amazing and inspiring journeys. And it's also really wonderful that, so much of your pathway has been through training, but also so much of it has also been self-taught. Like some of the greatest musicians in history have been self-taught. So it's absolutely wonderful. We will go into your second song very shortly, but I also wanted to share with our viewers that recently, earlier this year, you released a music video, a new music single. Could you tell us a little bit about that very exciting milestone?
Yeah, absolutely. So that song that I had sung is something that I'd been working on for quite some time. Just working on little bits of it here and there. So the song is an old Afghan folk song. The composition is just a really, really old folk song. Nobody really knows the origins of it, but it's an old folk Afghan song. But with those lyrics in particular in that sort of style, it was sung by the late Sarban, an old Afghan singer. The song was sung in the 60s, it was. And I just, being the person that I am, so myself, I guess I should just give a little bit of background. I have a big passion for sort of classic music, particularly from Afghanistan, but just from all regions in the world. Classic, old school, anything of that sort is really just sort of, I guess you could say my vibe. It's my passion. It's what I'm interested in. And I just really loved this song in particular. I've been listening to it since I was like really young, and I re-listened to it again. And it's just something that I always loved. And all the instruments, or at least most of the instruments that you heard being played in that song, was something that I had at home and something that I knew I could also play. And so I just had the idea of one day maybe just trying to use one of those apps where you just put the music, like different clips together, overlapping this audio tracks together and overlapping them to create another track. And so I decided to do that and go through with it and record the song. And so I played all the instruments in the song, and as well as sang it. And I decided to remake it to the original as closely as possible. So in terms of the instruments being used, and also for the music video, if you ever see the original video, you'll see that it's in that same sort of layout where these musicians sort of lined up along, like behind the and beside the singer, and the singer just sort of comes out from behind the stage in black and white. I just really tried to get it as closest to the original as I could in every way. And though I personally know that I can never, reach that level or really ever get to the level of the original, I can only just make a humble attempt. And that was my humble attempt at trying to remake and recreate an old masterpiece. And just hopes that everybody else can enjoy it as much as I enjoyed making it and recording it and filming it. And yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Well, we definitely loved and enjoyed watching it. It was a fabulous music video, and we'll share the link to that with our viewers as well. Absolutely wonderful music video. I guess with that, we can go into your second song. We'd love to hear your second song, and thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Sure, absolutely. No worries. Okay. So, the second song is going to be a song from the late Ahmad Zair, a very famous and well-known artist from Afghanistan from the 60s and 70s. Right, we'll just get on to it, and hopefully you guys enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Oris and Ramez. You can hear Oris, who is among the next generation of Afghan Canadian artists, playing tabla with Ensemble Topaz in some videos that we have on our YouTube site, as well as on our SoundCloud page, where we have the songs that we recorded thanks to the Ontario Arts Council music recording grant that we got in 2019. So you can check out more of Oris as a tabla player, as well as a singer and harmonium player. And of course, please, if you're enjoying our show, please consider supporting the artists by going to the link you can see right up there and going to the GoFundMe page and making a donation. The link is also available on our Facebook page, and any amount is appreciated. And thank you so much for supporting artists at this time. And now our next artist for today, Dhara Majmundar. Dhara specializes in classical Indian Bharatanatyam dance forms, as well as regional dance forms of India, especially of the Gujarat region. She holds a master's degree in Bharatanatyam dance from MS University, Baroda in India, and is currently based in Toronto. She has performed with Ensemble Topaz at several major events, such as the Toronto International Dance Festival, Tirgan Festival, which is the largest Iranian cultural festival, and recently at Ensemble Topaz's performance at the Scarborough Celebrates Canadian Multiculturalism Day, hosted by the Heritage Skills Development Centre. She is also one of the dancers on the Festival India Northern Ontario Tour in 2019, performing in Northern Ontario cities Thunder Bay and Fort Francis. Here's Dhara performing a dance in Indian traditional folk dance style with some contemporary elements, choreographed to the song Rajwadi Odhini in Rajasthani style from the Indian movie Kalank. Dhara Majmundar, and she is one of the lovely dancers of Ensemble Topaz. Thank you for joining us, Dhara.
Thank you for having me today.
So tell us a little bit about your background as a dancer. When did you start, and what kind of dance and styles did you do when you were just learning?
Sure. So basically I started learning Indian classical dance, Bharatanatyam, since I was 9 years old. I took some training in a private class for 2 to 3 years. Then I started my diploma from the MS University of Performing Arts. I studied 5 years of diploma while I was in high school. Then I joined the bachelor's. So I did 3 years bachelor's in performing arts and then 2 years master's in performing arts. So basically I have 10 years university coursework done on Bharatanatyam from the MS University.
And when you came to Canada from India, what sort of styles of dances were you doing? Were you continuing your Bharatanatyam?
Sure. Well, I'm teaching Bharatanatyam this day, so I'm teaching during weekends, and it's really amazing to see how people from all ages and all creeds enjoy the dancing so much. But other than teaching the Bharatanatyam itself, I learned many other dance forms when I joined Ensemble Topaz. So these days I'm learning Afghan, Tajikistan, Balochistan, what else? So many dance forms that I'm learning from all those different countries. To be very honest, earlier I had no clue about them, and I'm so amazed that those dance forms are so beautiful, so elegant, and I'm totally immersed into that.
And we know that last year you danced with Ensemble Topaz on the Northern Ontario tour. How was that? What was it like to see Northern Ontario, and was that your first time up there?
Oh yes, oh my gosh, that was such an amazing experience. So we visited the whole Northern Ontario, and we performed on several locations, but the most eye-catchy performances that we gave was at the Thunder Bay. So they had the Festival of India for 3 days long. Within those 3 days, there were almost 9,000 people joined us, and they enjoyed the dance performances that everybody performed there. We did folk dance, we did Indian classical dance, and it was such an amazing journey. The response from the audience was so good. We made a few friends who were performing other dance styles and who have come from all different places, from Canada to US, and it was really amazing. I learned a lot and I enjoyed the trip thoroughly.
Thank you so much, Dhara, and we look forward to seeing your performance.
Thank you so much.
And also Global Rhythms Live co-host. He is a Toronto-based musician and educator specializing in saxophone, clarinet, and woodwinds. Having studied classical music on the saxophone, he also performs jazz, rock, klezmer, R&B, Balkan, and Indian music, and is one of the few musicians in North America to play the algoza, a rare double flute from the Thar Desert straddling India and Pakistan. As music director of Ensemble Topaz, Mike has guided the band and created arrangements for music that has its source in Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Tajikistan, and India, collaborating with many musicians from all over the world, and recording with the assistance of an Ontario Arts Council music recording grant in 2019. Anklewicz also holds a PhD in ethnomusicology from York University and teaches saxophone at the Royal Conservatory of Music in Toronto. Great. So thank you so much for that great song. What a fun sounding song. Can you tell us a little bit about that song?
Sure. I mean, it's a really wonderful klezmer song called Uncle Max Bulgar. Bulgar is the type of dance. It's sort of a very lively dance in two. And this particular song I learned years and years ago at Klez Camp with we learning. Sometimes we do a class where we learn songs by ear. And in this particular one, Michael Winograd, who's an amazing klezmer clarinetist, was teaching this song by ear. It's a later klezmer song. A lot of like the songs that I've done through the global rhythms and playing them, they've been older songs that I've traced back to before World War One. This one in particular was composed by a clarinetist named Sam Musiker, who was actually the son-in-law of the great clarinetist Dave Terrace. And it was composed in, I think, the early 50s. So actually quite late in terms of that prime generation of klezmer musicians that started before World War One, really around after World War One, carrying through till just after World War Two. So Sam Musiker was a second generation musician born in the U.S., one of the first ones born in the U.S. who really developed his own material. And he also played a lot of jazz, and he was known as both a jazz and a klezmer clarinetist. And of course his brother Ray Musiker was also a great musician too. And So this song was composed, and there's a lot of very sophisticated, um, theoretical things happening in this piece. He takes the song in places that you don't expect. And so when I put this together, I actually added a little more jazzy harmonies as well to what Sam Musiker did back in the 1950s.
Great. Do you find, so you have a PhD in ethnomusicology, and in that PhD you specialized in this genre, klezmer, and its history, and also where it is now, klezmer. Do you find that in your artistic work, how do you find that the PhD has sort of informed your current and even previous artistic work?
That's a good question.
And in both klezmer and other genres, because you do so many different genres.
I think it's really helpful for providing context to what you're doing and placing what we do in context. With klezmer, I find it helps me sort of as somebody who always likes to take the music forward into another direction and not just play the tunes the same way. If I was playing for a dance, if I was playing for, people sitting there and really, enjoying, but also just dancing to the music, it would be amazing. But I find as a listener, I love to hear the music get, blended with other things and sort of made more up to date. And that's one of the reasons I love that song so much, is because in its way, it's still traditional, but it's also a little bit more progressive and forward looking. And the thing that I love about klezmer is that there is a history of those two things, the contemporarity, the traditionality and modernity in both of it at the same time. And there's a history of that going back 100 years. So knowing that context for me is really, really enjoyable.
Fabulous. And I have another question for you, Mike. What have you been doing as an artist? How have you engaged in your artwork since, I guess, the whole social distancing began?
Well, I think, the viewers and listeners, and thank you if you've been joining us, week after week. I think they've seen, what I've been doing, a lot of collaborations, and the collaboration we did with Sid Mathur in India, and collaboration with Hossein Soleimani in Toronto, and with Tamar Ilana here in Toronto as well. There's a lot of these collaborations that we've been able to do, and getting in touch with all of these amazing musicians, not just from Toronto, but from around the world, and people who have, a little more time on their hands to sort of extend their reach and do things with people that they're not normally used to doing. And it's been really rewarding to just do different things with different people.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things with the whole COVID and social distancing has been that artists firstly have to go into the digital medium now or have some form of socially distanced performances. But in its own way, it's opened up a couple of different avenues, and one of them is actually collaboration because we're not constantly working and we're not constantly touring, so we can actually devote the time and work with other artists that we don't always get a chance to work with. So it's actually been amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, I find it also really rewarding that we can take, one song and really try something with it and be a little bit experimental and, putting, saxophone and clarinet arrangements of klezmer songs, or, with the work we did with Tamar Ilana, like really experimenting with putting a pungi into a Bulgarian song. We can really do that in ways that are really manageable, and we're really able to do them by just concentrating on one song at a time instead of having to prepare a whole concert or having to prepare a lot of music.
Yeah, and I think the other aspect of this is there's a new way of looking at creativity, a digital creativity. I mean, 4 Mike Anklewicz is on the screen. I think that's pretty awesome.
Well, probably 3 too many for some, but
yeah, I mean, digital creativity and Zoom shows, and we had the opportunity to experience Marett Ismailova's show some weeks ago, which was created and designed specifically for Zoom. So I think it's pushed, I think this whole social distancing has pushed performance and creativity and artistic work in a few different directions. And it's actually kind of interesting to see. But yeah, well, with that, we'll move into our next performance. So our next performer for today, our next and final performer for today is Angelica Marett. Angelica has been studying flamenco dance under Esmeralda Enrique for the past 17 years. She has performed with Fiesta Flamenco at numerous events. She has also, over the years, performed with a number of Toronto-based troupes and ensembles, performing a variety of dances such as Bollywood, can-can, vintage dance forms, and several others. Angelica has a love of vintage dance and is the co-founder of Disco Revolution, a small dance group dedicated to keeping alive the funk and groove of 1970s disco dance. She's a core member at Ensemble Topaz and has performed at most of the major events with Ensemble Topaz, such as the Toronto International Dance Festival, the Canadian National Exhibition International Stage, South Asian Heritage Month at Union Station, Ontario Place, Bombardier's delivery ceremony of the Q400 Airbus of Kazakh Air, the national airline of Kazakhstan, as well as in the numerous music videos we've had a chance to be part of. She's also the costume creator of many Ensemble Topaz costumes. Today she's performing a contemporary interpretive dance to a fun contemporary Afghan song, Moya Ka Dana Dana by Javed Sharif.
دست به دست بیا تا برقصیم پا به کوبیم از غم ها نترسیم مویک و دانه دانه افتاده سرشانه وقتی بوسه میخوایم میکنی تو بهانه وای تکای عاشقانه قلبم برت میخوانه و یگانی من نگاه مره کردی دیوانه مویک و دانه دانه افتاده سرشانه وقتی بوسه میخوایم میکنی تو بهانه شاد و خندان چرخ زنن و میدان بیاید به رقص شب هنوز جوان شب رقص و بازی سرود دل نوازی من کشتی با چشمان نازی مویکا دانه دانه افتاده سرشانه وقت بوسه میخوایم میکنی تو بهانه بیتکای عاشقانه قلبم برت میخوانه و یگانی من نگاه مره کردی دیوانه پیشتایم هم صدایم گیرم در آغوشم تو را بس دگر آزارم نده یار بگو که دوست میداری مرا مویکا دانه دانه افتاده سرشانه وقتی بوسه میخوایم میکنی تو بهانه بیتکای عاشقانه قلبم برت میخوانه و یگانی من نگاه مره کردی دیوانه مویکا دانه دانه افتاده سرشانه وقتی بوسه میخوایم میکنی تو بهانه بیتکای عاشقانه قلبم برت میخوانه و یگانی من نگاه مره کردی دیوانه.
Welcome to Angelica Marett. She's one of the Ensemble Topaz dancers, and she's here joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, Angelica, tell us about your journey in dance. We know you're from Australia. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about, what got you into dance in the first place and how you've changed your focus since coming from Australia to Canada?
Thank you. Yes, I'm originally from Australia, and I danced in Australia. I learned ballet, like many young girls, and I came to Canada, and I fell in love with flamenco, and have been dancing flamenco for about 19 years. That's a wonderful, wonderful dance form and experience to have. I met Parmita some years ago. We actually met, we were both members of a can-can troupe, which was very exciting and lots of fun. I've also done other forms of dance. Disco is one of my passions, and even 60s go-go dancing is also a passion of mine. These vintage dances are very much a thing that I enjoy doing and exploring. So I have been dancing with Parmita for some time, and it's given me the opportunity to explore dances of other cultures, other regions, in particular Central Asia. So, yeah.
And, you know, what can you tell us about any favorite memories you have of particularly your time with Ensemble Topaz?
Oh my goodness, there are so many. We have had so many wonderful experiences. I couldn't really pick out one. Every performance is unique and different and interesting. So I can't say that one was any more interesting or exciting than another one.
All right, and you are not just a dancer, but you're a dressmaker. Can you tell us a little bit more about, you know, how one informs the other, and what types of dresses you make, and what you do, and how people can find you to make some wonderful dresses and costumes?
Both dressmaking and dancing are both very, very creative ways to express yourself. Yes, I'm a dressmaker. That's my first profession. I do a lot of weddings, a lot of costumes for weddings, and many years ago I started flamenco, and I got into making flamenco costumes. I think it's wonderful to be on both sides of the equation, to be a dancer and a creator of the costumes, because I do have an understanding of how the costume's going to look, how it's going to move, what the choreography is like. I'm very attuned to that, whereas perhaps another dressmaker may not be. So I'm very aware of backdrop, the environment where the performance is going to take place, and the performer, how she or he likes to appear, and even down to the music and everything. So color, lightness, darkness, how the fabric moves. I'm very aware and conscious of that. So yeah, it's great to see both sides.
And, you know, can you tell us anything about, you know, how you've been spending the last few months under the COVID umbrella, and how that's affected your dancing, especially?
I'm laughing because we've all been doing lots of Zoom classes and rehearsals and dancing. I'm practicing in the basement, so I'm very aware that the ceiling is not very high. I can't put my hands up and touch the ceiling. But other than that, it's been great to explore some dance forms that we don't have time for usually, because we're rehearsing for different events. So it has been interesting, and also to have access to dancing from so many different countries, so many different styles that we've, as I say, never really had the chance or the time to explore. So yeah, we've been rehearsing dancing, Zoom,
All right, thanks so much, Angelica.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Great, and that was Angelica, and wonderful to see her dancing to the contemporary Afghan song.
Thanks, Angelica, and thank you everybody for watching and joining us today. We hope you've enjoyed today's edition of Global Rhythms World Music and Dance Digital Concert, streamed from the living rooms of our artists, and of course here Studio Topaz in our living room. Please support our artists by visiting the GoFundMe page and making a donation. In the coming weeks, we'll continue to bring featured artists from across the world performing traditional and innovative artistic material. Please stay updated by following our Facebook page as well as Instagram at Ensemble Topaz. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel right here if you are watching on YouTube, and click the little bell to get notified anytime we have a new video up. And you can find the links at the events to our wonderful artists on Instagram today as well. Thank you for joining us in our journey today, and we hope you will join us in the future.